going on, guys? This is Jordan here. Don't be scared of the guy with the beard. I know. This video is going to be a little bit different from my other videos as far as production is concerned. That's going to be because my Stephen A. Smith video, YouTube did not really like that too much. And so they really halted my views. The last two videos got no impression. So I'm going to try something a little bit new. Instead of, going all in and wasting my time potentially on a whole bunch of editing, I'm just gonna stick it out with you guys here. I'd like you guys to use your imagination with me for just one moment as I tackle this false philosophy. And so I have a question or response to these people. People who believe Bill and Wilt Chamberlain cannot be top 10 players. People who discredit Oscar Robertson, Jerry West. People who think Kevin Durant, though he can't win in today's NBA, he'd still be so much better than all the players in the past, right? Just the overall latest is greatest mentality, the NBA stars, people who are legends at their craft being called plumbers, people who have that type of mentality. I have a question or a response to your philosophy with a story, basically. And so let me just run down the story real quick. And so I start a TikTok, and I have a TikTok channel. It's all right. I do my thing there, and I decide, all right, I want to basically get more face, more publicity. So what I end up doing is I decide to go on someone's live, right? I'm like, you know what, today's gonna be the day. This is my first time. I've only done it once so far. I went on someone's live to do like on their panel, basically. I went on their panel and we had a conversation for about like 3 hours. Me and about 8 other people. And the host, the main discourse of the conversation was pick a what if. And it was multiple what ifs. And it looked something like this here, something like that. But the thing was, the what if that is in the question that I'm bringing up is LeBron James playing in the 90s. And so what ended up happening is I gave my opinion, everyone gave their opinion. It was up to another guy who is like familiar with the panel. I guess he's went to the host a couple times. He's talked on the platform a couple times, I guess, something along those lines. Either way. So this guy goes and he's saying, without anyone bringing up anything, he says, well, I don't want to pick LeBron going to the 90s because, well, I don't believe these guys being in the 90s are good, and I believe because LeBron James plays in a tougher competition, well, that means if I were to put LeBron James in the 90s, then I would have to think less of LeBron James. And that's exactly wrong with the philosophy. It doesn't matter how good the player is. If you put them in a certain time and you just disrespect all that what happens in their time, then you truly disrespect the player themselves. And so he goes on to say, basically, that the basic stuff that everyone said. A Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a Larry Bird, the defenses, everyone's offensive bag in general. It doesn't compare to what LeBron James is used to, so he should dominate them, right? But he wouldn't want that because even if LeBron James dominated them, they wouldn't care. And that's why I stuck with Wilt Chamberlain and the Bill Russell side instead of the 90s side, because let's look up great stats, right? If LeBron James were to put up great stats, if he were to play in the 60s, 70s, how would you guys know how good LeBron James is in this time with the rules that they allow him to do, and all the other advantages that's given to him, whether it's his fault or not? None of it's really his fault as far as advantages are concerned. So it's just one of those things. And another thing, while I have you, is my Steph Curry analogy. And so picture this: Steph Curry here. He's in the 60s, 70s, right? Say you put him in the 60s, right? No three-point line. So he's not shooting any threes. You don't see him making any threes. Two, because there's no three-point line, why is he going to take that much threes to begin with? He's not going to. So you're not going to see his real skill and abilities, right? After that, the dribbling was hindered. There's no zero step, no gather step. Euros were called. They literally had to dribble like this. You can look it up. It's not lying. That's why they dribbled like this. The palms had to go like this. They cannot turn the ball over. So even if Steph Curry is an elite dribbler, right? Because I've heard people say, well, I've heard people's response say, well, even if they did play in that time, they'd still be so much more elite. Well, you would view them way less than what you see them now, right? Because of their dribbling. So you have the dribbling, the shot. You have the physicality he'd have to deal with. Let's pretend Steph Curry is all healthy, the ankle injury, he survives, right? He has mental fortitude to blow by all the racist stuff that happens in that time too. That's whatever, the shoes, that's whatever, right? So the physicality, the strict assist, that's more of a sad thing. We're not going to see all these stats come up for him. Maybe not. Assists were called a lot more stricter then. And offensive fouls. I'll show the offensive fouls. One of the few edits I'll actually really bring up, just so you guys understand what I mean by offensive fouls being called a lot more at that time.
He bucks, that's Alcindor against Bellamy. No basket, says Ricky Powell. Good matchup there. Chambers earlier was against him, now Bridges on him with more strength. Robertson on the pick and roll. He used to work so well in Cincinnati, but no basket.
They were expecting a traveling call against Griffin.
In this league, you learn not to expect anything.
Lanier inside. Offensive foul on the big guy. The ball goes back to the Jazz with 1:55 to play in the third quarter. 20 for Truck Robinson. Skinner on the drive and back out to Douglas. Lanier again. Offensive foul on Bob Lanier.
John Shoemate replaces Bob Lanier.
Okay, here you see Bob receives the ball at the top of the key, makes a fake. Joe C. did not go for it, and he charged right into him. It's an excellent call by the official.
Maravich has equaled his average. He has 28.
I tell you, Pistol will accept the challenge. If you're playing one-on-one like that, you're asking for a lot of trouble.
Offensive foul is called on Bob.
Oh, you know what? Oh, this was a charge. So this was a charge. Oh, look at this. He had his arm hooked. First off, he's being hand checked.
About gang rebounding, you're going to need it. Damian Lee did well to make sure he got contact that time. Don't avoid it. Don't shy away from it. Make sure you get the contact.
He jumps with him, and it's considered a charge.
And so with the offensive fouls being another factor, you have his shooting going down, his dribbling going down, potentially passing, at least as far as numbers going down. You have just being more physical, right? All those things being into play. Now say LeBron. Say Steph Curry still puts up amazing numbers. Say he averages what? 34, 6, and 8, right? Or yeah, something along those lines. He's never averaged 34 points in the regular season, I'm not sure. So let's say he averaged 34. You want an extra glaze, 40 points in a season. With the way you saw him playing and his highlights being way less than what you'd expect, would you care about that 40 points? Do you care about the 40 points because he didn't play against people that you know or you're not familiar with? That's my other question to you guys, because it doesn't matter who it is, whether it be LeBron James, Steph Curry, even Michael Jordan. If you put them far enough back, they'll have to nerf their skills to turn ability, and they're going to look a little bit different. And so for me, when you look at that idea that, okay, a player can't be good because he played in a certain era, it's not necessarily right. I personally think eras are important. I think it's hard to say who's a GOAT, who's not a GOAT. I do believe there is a GOAT. But at the end of the day, for me, it comes down to like, I like to think of it more of kind of college as far as in eras. So like LeBron James in the 90s would play a little bit different than LeBron James in the 2010s. And so like you would scout from what you've seen from him and you could only go from there, kind of like college, if you get my drift to some degree. I would liken it to that, especially when it comes to projecting other players in other eras. but in general, it's the same philosophy, that mindset. Because I never really thought of it to that extent, where other people, LeBron James fans themselves, would say, hey, I don't want LeBron playing against plumbers because, well, I'd have to believe he's a plumber. That's kind of insane to me. Another thing I want to bring up is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? So he played against Wilt Chamberlain. He played against Wilt Chamberlain, and then he played against Hakeem Olajuwon, right? So he played against some of the greatest centers of all time. He had a big stretch, right? So Kareem played against Wilt. Wilt's one of those dinosaur players we don't care about for the most part. Most people have Kareem, they give him the respect. Some people still don't. They put him in that Wilt category. But Kareem most likely, most of the time, gets more respect than Wilt Chamberlain. But they played together, right? They played together, and Kareem not only just played against Wilt and some of his contemporaries, Kareem later played against some of the 90s great centers, and who I would say was the best center of all time as far as just ability, and Hakeem Olajuwon. He was able to play against him and played against Wilt. So it's like he's like a bridge. So if you have Kareem and you acknowledge what he does, it's kind of hard to just disassociate Wilt and Bill. That's one thing. I do see people have Kareem in their top 10s and Bill and Wilt not, and they say it's because he's too old. I'm like, how was that the case, right? So you have that 10-year difference to a Kareem, to a Hakeem 10-year, or a Kareem and a Shaq 15-year, right? So that draft, Kareem to Wilt's draft was 10 years apart. Hakeem and Kareem's, I think, was also 10 years apart. And Kareem and Shaq was 15 years apart. So with that time being apart, some people still say Kareem's better than Shaq, and some people say, yeah, Shaq's better than Kareem. But even with a 15-year difference, some people still say Kareem's that guy. But you want to say, let's say you think Kareem's too old, like 15 years, right? Well, if you use that same 15 years or something close to, like Kobe Bryant and anyone else, right? Kobe Bryant was drafted in 1996. And yet, how much players after him are better than Kobe? The last time he won a championship was in 2009, right? So he won a championship in 2009. I got 15 from him retiring in 2016. That was a fluff. Yeah, so if he retired in 2016, played a 20 years career, right? How many players from 16 on are better than Kobe? And how many players from 96 through current are better than Kobe? Very, very few, if any, right? So this idea that the latest is greatest, and that people who play in the past, just because you're not familiar with them, or you don't like the way they play basketball, or you haven't educated yourself to learn the history of the game or the context of why things happened in basketball history, you'll end up having some of the most ignorant takes, whether it be in basketball or anything. If you don't put yourself in the fire when it comes to the football, basketball, politics, anything like that. If you don't do history research, then yeah, you can talk, but it's not going to matter. There's no weight behind those words. At least to the people who are truly qualified, or at least have done their due diligence to actually know what they're talking about. It's 2026 now, and in a couple years, it'll be, 2040, 2050. So, of course, as time goes on, more people are going to forget about the history of the game. More people are going to probably not care about the history of the game. More people are going to have the history of the game wrong. So I just want to say it's important to know about the players before we disrespect anybody, because they're all our people who put their efforts in on the court. They could only do what they were asked to do at the time they played. Also, if you did like this setup here, you did like me being out there, let me know in the comments, and maybe I might do more videos like this. Appreciate y'all. See y'all. Never.